Jesus. I
Good
was gonna
grief.
say, like, a James Cameron Spider-Man to me sounds like a Tim Burton Superman, where it was like, I cannot be even fathom that got as far as it did. Because, like, just a tonal
I think,
mismatch.
yeah. But then James Cameron has made some fun movies. Like, you look
Oh,
at
I'm more
something like
talking
True
about,
Lies.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm talking just the Tim Burton Superman thing is something that existed. Like, because I remember
Mm.
those, because it was kind of like, I remember what, 10 years or maybe 5 years before Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings rumors going with, because I remember the big
Mm-hmm.
one being, oh, Sean Astin's going to play Frodo. And then, like, it actually happened and he played Sam. And it's like, all right, well, close enough. We'll call it.
Yeah. It's a Hobbit still.
Yep, still, same race. We got him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just introduce the show. We don't know when it started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Smark Avengers. My name is Corey, and with me is John. Dylan is
Hello.
Dylan is not with us. What is Dylan up to? He came up with a reason why you weren't here.
Uh, I think he's on his moon base plotting how to take over the world right now.
He always does say that he gets up to crime whenever we ask him what he does during the week.
I picture him up there like Rita Repulsa, just like with her minions.
Let me tell you, I watched the original Japanese Zoo Ranger, the Sendai series that all of the Power Ranger footage came from, and that was instead of
Mm-hmm.
Rita Repulsa, she was the evil witch Bandora, and she straight up just said, "I want to kill kids," and I'm like, "Damn, Zoo Rangers went hard." She's just talking about wanting to kill children. Ah, they cried too much. Kill them.
I mean, she's got a point.
We'll disagree. We'll disagree. So, depending on how much we're talking and how much stayed in the open, we have been talking about James Cameron's Spider-Man, a little bit about Tim Burton's Superman. These were superhero movies that were going to come out, were rumored to come out, but ultimately didn't. And I mean, there's a lot going on in the DC side of the picture right now. Marvel's a little more set in stone because they're in the midst of making Doomsday and apparently writing the script as they go, which sounds not great when you
Never a
think
good
about it.
sign.
Doesn't sound great. I saw someone specifically saying that their favorite that they cannot wait to see um, Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom wipe out the Bryan Singer X-Men universe because it was miserable and needed to die anyway. He's just gonna like finger snap it and just blow it away. Like, we're done with this place.
I mean, the thing is, we know that they're going to recast the X-Men
Of
and
course they are.
start them afresh anyway in the
Yeah,
future, so they might as
all of
well do
these
something like that.
all of these actors are in their 50s now. Like, we're not gonna go see a new X-Men movie with 50-year-old Wolverine, 50-year-old Cyclops, 50-year-old Phoenix. They're gonna hire some kid in their
Or,
20s.
like, yeah, 90-year-old Patrick Stewart or whatever he is now.
Ian
Like,
McKellen.
probably not 90. I'm doing him a disservice there, I think, but still.
Isn't Ian McKellen closer to that?
I would think so, yeah.
Ian McKellen is 86.
There you go.
Patrick Stewart is 85. So closer to 90
Damn.
than not.
Yeah.
God, I can't believe they had him film 3 seasons of Picard. I guess that's a good place to kind of. So, with Marvel, they've got Doomsday going on, and they're hoping that that's going to give them a big boost because they're in a weird place where things have either been like critically received but didn't make a lot of money, or have just been kind of boring for them. I mean, Captain
Mm-hmm.
America: Brave New World was considered pretty boring. Um,
Yep.
Thunderbolts was well received, but it didn't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I saw people get
Same with
really,
Fantastic Four.
yeah, Fantastic Four. That one surprised a lot of people with how like middle of the road it seemed its reception was.
Mm.
But I think the last thing I saw anybody really talking about, people were hyping up the zombies, Marvel zombies.
Yes.
And there's still the ever present. There's a Blade Disney Plus series
Mm.
maybe coming down the line somewhere, and there's a Wonder Man one, and those are hardly two characters that are going to light the world on fire.
Well, Blade, I think they're still planning to make a movie out of, but it's just they've not been able to crack the script at all.
It's getting that.
So
Remember it took Black Adam like 9 years to get made.
yeah. It
It's
feels
starting to
like
feel
this is
that
going to
way.
be another one.
Yeah.
Mm.
And at least I feel like we have finally like stopped letting Jared Leto be a star of things after his Tron movie just shit the bed. So that's nice.
You say that he's going to be Skeletor in the new He-Man movie,
Can't wait for
so
that to shit the bed too.
I
Morpheus,
don't want it to shit the bed.
Morpheus, Tron, and He-Man.
Oh man.
What a killer's row there, a murderer's row. Um, so anyway, yeah, that's what's going on in the Marvel side. It seemed like collectively everyone's kind of holding their breath and hoping the Russo brothers can make some magic happen with Doomsday. But I've been seeing a lot of reports of like, yeah, Alan Cumming was Nightcrawler and he filmed in front of a green screen and he didn't know who he was supposed to be talking to. Not
Mm-hmm.
ideal, you know.
Yeah.
And on the DC side of things, Superman just Superman I think came out 615 million. So, not a
Mm-hmm.
failure, but depending on who you ask anyway. Another topic for another time. Um
Yeah.
Peacemaker season 2 just wrapped up with a big I don't want to call it a big revelation cuz I saw a lot of people talking about they're really disappointed in it. Well, I guess um before we dive into that, quick summary on it. So, Peacemaker is a character that was originally from Charlton Comics that was acquired by DC Comics in the 80s. Famously, Alan Moore used Peacemaker as his inspiration for the comedian in Watchmen. And that was probably the most
Mm-hmm.
noteworthy thing about that character up until James Gunn cast John Cena to play him in the Suicide Squad. Um,
Yeah.
so then after the Suicide Squad, where his character is seemingly like killed until like a post-credit scene, you see that he's okay. It's announced that Peacemaker is getting his own show, and the first season comes out and it's well received and people really liked it and John Cena did a really good job. Then a second season of Peacemaker comes out and our storyline there is basically introducing the concept of the multiverse in the DC world
Mm-hmm.
with our main character Chris finding his seemingly perfect world where his family is still alive and he's a beloved hero and he has the girl of his dreams and it's perfect because in the real world he's considered a joke and he's wanted by Rick Flag Sr. for killing his son and everybody hates him and his family's dead. So throughout the story, ultimately Chris realizes that his perfect world is actually a Nazi planet, which is funny. Uh, that revelation, just like all of the little like sight gags of just like every desk has a copy of Mein Kampf. There's this mural of like Hitler in front of the
Mm-hmm.
White House. I've not seen a single person of color since I've been here. It's very very James Gunn sense of humor. But anyway, the ending of it is
Mm.
that the B plot of the story has been Rick Flag Sr., who is a high government official played by Frank Grillo, has been having a bit of a fall from grace as he has been um, on a path of revenge against Peacemaker for killing his son, Rick Flag Jr., in the Suicide Squad movie. And he ends up cutting a deal with Lex Luthor, and he finds this dimensional rift, and he abandons the Peacemaker, John Cena's character, in a world he calls Salvation, where his ultimately the plan is to take all of the metahumans on Earth and put them in Salvation. That was the big finale. I wanted to say like kind of like on that because James Gunn was like hyping it really big, and I think a lot of people were expecting like a bunch of cameos or brand new characters to be introduced instead of like, hey, this is a plot point that's going to come up again in the future. And I think James Gunn kind of
Yeah.
sabotaged himself on by hyping it up as big as he did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the big deal. Salvation is, of course, based off of a comic series called Salvation Run that was in the lead up to Final Crisis back in the late 2010s, or not 2010s, late 2000s, which was written by Grant Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what it is that Amanda Waller creates a prison planet for all of the metahumans or the supervillains in DC and just leave them there, where there's giant carnivorous monsters trying to kill them.
Yep.
So that's where we are with DC. And it's not just where we are, because, of course, there's other projects coming out. So they've already announced that Man of Tomorrow, which is going to be the sequel to Superman, that's going to focus on... I think James Gunn basically said it's going to be a Superman Lex Luthor team-up movie. That's going to be out in February of 2027. The goal, anyway. There's Supergirl coming out before then. There is the Lanterns television series that's going to be coming out as well. And there's also the Clayface show. With Clayface...
Yes, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, Clayface made his appearance for the first time in the Creature Commandos animated series. So this will be continuing on that storyline, much like the Rick Flag Sr. character was introduced in Creature Commandos as well.
I believe Clayface is a movie as well, not a show.
Oh, yes. That's ballsy. We'll see.
Well, it's the weird thing about like James Gunn's like plans for DC is he's not going with the most obvious choices first. He's doing some random stuff, which, you know, like doing Creature Commandos is basically the first introduction to this new incarnation of like DC Studios and like a big sort of project that crosses both live action TV, animated series, and movies. That is not the like entry point that I think most people would have gone with.
No,
but
that's for sure.
You know,
but I will say this, like, that's true. The very first, if you don't want to count Suicide Squad, because technically Suicide Squad was kind of in the middle of that transition from Scott Snyder to James Gunn. So the continuity is a little weird and fast and loose. We're not really sure what's 100% there and 100% not. I mean, outright in Peacemaker 2, they refilmed like the ending of season 1. Peacemaker ends with a cameo by Scott Snyder's Justice League, or at least, you know, Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Ezra Miller as the Flash. And they reshot it, so instead of them in the flashback, it was the Justice Gang of Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, and Guy Gardner from Superman. So it's
but like you say as well, like a big crux of season 2 of Peacemaker was from the Suicide Squad with Peacemaker killing Rick Flag Jr. So yeah, it's a bit confusing.
It is, and I mean, James Gunn seemingly is handling it in the tried and honored way of comic books by saying, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's comics.
Yeah,
no big deal. Don't worry about it." So yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point, because like, if you think about it, the Suicide Squad had Harley Quinn, and Harley Quinn had interacted with Ben Affleck's Batman in the David Ayers Suicide Squad movie. But we know that Ben Affleck's not Batman in James Gunn's world, because we don't even know who Batman is in James Gunn's world. Like, officially, we saw a glimpse of him in Creature Commandos, but it was like a silhouette of him in a Dr. Phosphorus flashback. So, like,
right.
We have no idea who the fuck Batman is. Which, again, is going to your point of, like, he's not starting and doing obvious things, because we're going to have a Clayface movie before we know who the fuck Batman is.
Exactly.
So James Gunn basically, and this is going to tie into this as well, because like Lanterns is going to be interesting, because a lot of people, so like all comic fan bases, the Green Lantern fan base is very strong and very devout. There are multiple Green Lanterns for a reason, and that's because you could ask a room full of Green Lantern fans who their favorite Lantern is, and you're going to get different answers. You know, the big one is Hal Jordan. He was the Silver Age Green Lantern. And then there was Guy Gardner and John Stewart. John Stewart's a very big one, because those of us who grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, the Justice League cartoon by Bruce Timm Green Lantern was Jon Stewart, because at the time Hal Jordan was a villain, and they wanted to have diversity in the cast of characters and not just have a bunch of white people. So they picked Jon Stewart. And then, of course, if you did grow up in the 90s and you're reading comic books, then Green Lantern was Kyle Rayner, and there was no Green Lantern Corps. He was the only one, because that was their relaunch of Green Lantern and like trying to redefine what the character is. So when you say we're going to make a Green Lantern show, you immediately have alienated at least 3/4 of the fan base, because you can only have one main character. And if it's not Hal Jordan, then the Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart, and Kyle Rayner fans are pissed. So it's ballsy to decide, hey, we're gonna make a Green Lantern show, and the main Lantern is going to be Jon Stewart. So that's cool, because like I said, a lot of people grew up with Jon Stewart as their main character. The Guy Gardner fans are cool with it because he's already shown up. He's played by Nathan Fillion, and he was very well received and loved in Superman. And was really funny in Peacemaker in his cameo there. When they announced who they were casting as Hal Jordan, though, for the Lantern show, that raised a lot of eyebrows, because the man they cast, you'll have to forgive me, I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Kyle Chandler.
Kyle Chandler. He's in his 60s, so it's an older man, meaning that we're likely not seeing Hal Jordan in the Lantern uniform and doing a lot of fighting, because it's a 60-year-old man. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, of course. We saw Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen kick the shit out of each other in Lord of the Rings. But, they were wizards. It's different. Anyway. So that's like, the Lantern show is kind of weird, because we've only seen like one proper image of Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and they're not in uniform. And then I saw another image from it that I think it was posted on the set, and it was a cardboard standee of Guy Gardner holding like a Mountain Dew in a gas station, because again, like, he's part of the Maxwell Lord Justice Gang, which is like superhero as a business and not like tried and true traditional kind of ideas. So that's another James Gunn upcoming project. A lot of, like I said, a lot of Green Lantern fans are very hesitant about it. They don't really know how it's going to go. And I don't know if that's like a DC thing, or if it's or just a comic book thing in general. Like, with the MCU, I didn't notice this kind of thing before. Of like, it seemed like every MCU movie that was coming out, people seemed seemingly hyped for it. There wasn't like, oh, like, we've made an Iron Man, we've made a Thor, we've made a Captain America, we're going to make, well, actually, oddly enough, I think Guardians of the Galaxy. Because when they announced Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy fans, which there weren't many of at the time because it was Cosmic Marvel, which is a very neglected space in Marvel, were like, oh, what's this then? They're making a movie of this.
Yeah.
How is this going to go? And then, like, the movie came out, and James Gunn, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, so you by all means tell me to shut the fuck up. But I liked Guardians of the Galaxy as a comic book fan before they were making the movie, because I remember when they were like talking about who's gonna play Star-Lord. I was like really surprised to see Chris Pratt, because at that point he was mostly well known for his role of chubby, goofy, dumb Andy Dwyer from Parks and Recreation. So it was like surprising, and then you saw the movie and you were like, wow, this is really good, but this wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, this is something else. Because it's like,
Well, yeah, but I think, like you say, there wasn't like that big community of people who probably were huge fans of the comic books to kind of make that comparison. For most people, this was their introduction to the Guardians of the Galaxy in any form. Like, certainly it was for me. So, but how can you not be entertained by that cast of characters from that movie?
Exactly, but again, like, as if you're a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, you're like, that's not really Star-Lord. Like, that's not his personality at all. And when they were releasing the Guardians of the Galaxy comic book at the time, Brian Michael Bendis was writing it, and it was like a completely different origin story that he was working with. Like, he was running with the original like 1960s Star-Lord origin, where he's the son of Jason of Spartax, you know? Like a
Mm-hmm.
whole different background. The character design was completely different. And then the movie took off, and then you saw Chris Pratt Star-Lord start showing up in the comic instead of the traditional Peter Quill.
Yeah.
That's Marvel synergy. That's another topic entirely. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, Creature Commandos, and I would even say definitely Peacemaker. That's the same level that Guardians of the Galaxy was at Marvel. So like when they said like, oh, James Gunn's doing this, you're like, oh, that's really cool. Like I didn't think anyone would want to do a Creature Commandos book. There was no Creature Commandos book, coming out at the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
Creature Commandos was like a thing from the 70s and might get a mini series in the 80s or 90s, but like the supernatural characters, that was Agents of Shade. That was a different thing
Yeah.
entirely in New 52. And then watching it, you're like, okay, well, he took liberties with characters, because like his take on Frankenstein certainly wasn't Grant Morrison's Frankenstein. Very different take.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happened with Peacemaker. Chris Smith, the character, is in the comics is certainly not John Cena. And even when they started now, DC doesn't have the same dedication to synergy that Marvel does at times. So like around the time that the Peacemaker show was coming out and Suicide Squad movie was coming out, Peacemaker was introduced in the comics as a adversary that worked under Amanda Waller, and he was more like a John Walker U.S. agent character, where he was loyal to the
Yeah.
government and was an asshole, and nobody liked him. So like totally different take from the John Cena character that we saw in season 1 of Peacemaker and season 2, which again was that character growth, because he was very much that way in Suicide Squad movie.
Mm.
But yeah, James Gunn is really odd to me in the way he approaches like stuff, because like Superman was the most comic book superhero movie I've ever seen, and I loved it for it. But also, I know that he doesn't necessarily do a lot of. He's not as loyal to the comic books, because he committed the cardinal sin of the Suicide Squad. And if you know what
Mm.
if you're familiar with the Suicide Squad, you know what that is. And I don't know if you know it or not.
I have no idea what the cardinal sin is. No.
Cool. So in the Suicide Squad, there's two universal truths, and that is Amanda Waller will always be Amanda Waller, and Captain Boomerang will survive. Because
Mm.
Captain Boomerang, like the name, always came back. And he was a character that was pathetic and whiny and a total dickhead and just the worst human being possible. And that's what made him so fun to read and likable, because he was also incredibly self-aware. Multiple times, like going into a mission, he's like, I'm going to piss myself. This is fucking ridiculous. How the hell are we getting through this? And he would somehow live. And like that was the joke, is that Captain Boomerang is a cockroach. You can't get rid of him. He's been on the most missions. Like him and Deadshot both have been on every mission, and yet they're the two who come back. Deadshot because he has a death wish, and Captain Boomerang because he's just the luckiest unlucky person in the world. So like to have him like kill off Captain Boomerang in the first like 10 minutes of the Suicide Squad movie, I went, okay, well, James is certainly gonna have his take on what the Suicide Squad is.
Mm.
Because like I said, it did not feel like a Suicide Squad movie to me, because it didn't have Deadshot or Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That's
And I
they're the
guess
big
I
two.
think it felt like he killed him off that quickly just to like shake things up and say, "Oh yeah, this is,
Nobody's safe.
like a clean break
Yeah.
from the first movie." And yeah, like you say, nobody's safe now.
Yep. Because I mean, and David Ayer's Suicide Squad movie, they did play a little bit with the whole like Captain Boomerang like somehow living despite being Captain
Mm.
Boomerang. Like there was a couple of scenes where like it was close. But I just love Captain Boomerang. Like I said, he's a favorite character of mine, because I did fall in love with that John Ostrander Suicide Squad run, where it was like he's the most
Mm.
unlikable person on the team. He's the most unqualified person to be there. Like at the end of the day, he's a dude who throws a toy. Because like this wasn't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
like modern day Captain Boomerang where the boomerangs explode and they're razor tipped. He's just throwing fucking boomerangs. It's
It's
absurd.
that's
Anyway,
not the best power to take into battle, but
no,
yeah.
no. We almost ended up talking about Blackest Night, and I remember like, because like, so Captain Boomerang in DC Comics did get killed off. He got killed off by Brad Meltzer in Identity Crisis, which I feel like
Yeah.
that's a storyline worth talking about someday. Because boy, oh boy, that is divisive in the fan base. Um, but so Captain Boomerang gets killed in Identity Crisis, and then his son Owen becomes the new Captain Boomerang, and he's kind of a tweener where he's like dating Supergirl. He tries to be a member of the Teen Titans, and they don't really want him in because he's fucking Captain Boomerang's kid. Like even though he wasn't raised by his dad, it was still like, what the fuck? But then in Blackest Night,
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff Johns kills off Captain Boomerang Jr. and Digger gets resurrected in a younger body, and he's a lot more competent, and he gets powers because Jeff Johns loves Silver Age shit. So I remember like all of these characters. They could have picked all these different characters to resurrect in Brightest Day, and they picked Captain Boomerang as one of them. I was like, damn, okay, old Boomer's back. Another topic for another time again. Well, actually, maybe not. Because we talked about how we originally I wanted to do a Blackest Night episode, and I was like, there's so much DC lore here. It would just be me ranting for an hour and you and Dylan just going, okay, all right. Because I have to explain, like, okay, there's been two different firestorms, and like this firestorm is made of these two people. Like it would just be stupid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll put that on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah. Every Halloween it comes up, and I go, no, we're not ready yet. We're not quite ready for Blackest Night. But to get back on topic with the James Gunn stuff, like those are the big things he has coming up. He has Lanterns coming up. He has Clayface coming up. He has Supergirl and Man of Tomorrow. He has stated there is not going to be a third season of Peacemaker. That plot line is going to get picked
Okay.
up somewhere else. So
There's other movies as well that he's kind of announced, but there's no dates for. So stuff like The Authority, which was again a bit of a zig when you'd expect him to zag.
yeah,
Like no one's really calling out for a movie about the Authority or really no, like again, it's like niche characters who I'm sure like the people who do read those books love them and stuff, but like for most like comic book fans or casual fans, they're not going to be familiar with the Authority at all.
yes. Well, and the way that I was reading it, it didn't even really necessarily look like the Authority. It looked a little more like Stormwatch or the
Okay.
Planetary. So there's like a couple of it felt like an amalgamation of some ideas. Because even then, like
Mm-hmm.
he took the engineer from the Authority and put her in Superman, and she was a villain.
Oh, was she from the Authority? Was she?
I believe the engineer was the Authority or Stormwatch, one of the two.
Oh, okay.
So so I mean that's potential tie-in if if they bring that character back and put her in the Authority. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also Batman Brave and the Bold, which is going to be Bruce
Yep.
Wayne and Damian. And then they pretty much said that like there's going to be this dynamic duo movie out that's going to be Nightwing and Red Hood. And
Yeah.
there's
They've
that.
they've said
Booster Gold.
Swamp Thing as well by James Mangold did the Wolverine
Hmm.
and Logan as well.
And then
Uh, I'm sure they're going to do like a Teen Titans movie. I think there's like rumors of there being like a Bane and Deathstroke
I
movie
heard
as
about that
well,
as well. Bane and Deathstroke team up.
and
Well, not a team.
Sergeant Rock
Well,
as well.
that's yeah. They introduced Sergeant Rock in Creature Commandos in flashbacks with GI Robot.
Mm.
So there's he is going across the board. A lot of people are kind of confused, and some are interested to see where he goes. I know because if the Green Lanterns are a problem when it comes to divided fan base, then Robin sidekicks. We had a whole episode talking about the 5 different characters that have been Robin. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
vibe where like when they
Mm.
announced like there's gonna be a Batman and Robin movie and it's gonna be Damian, 4/5 of the fan base were pissed. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna be weird. So then they're like, all right, we're gonna have Nightwing and Red Hood, and that's two those two groups are happy. And then there's like, well, but there's potentially a Teen Titans. It's like, well, is it gonna be Tim? Because if so, that's 4 out of 5, and
Mm-hmm.
that's good math. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then there's also, even though it's not officially part of his universe, Matt Reeves' Batman 2 is also going to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
get Batman, but it's not the official James Gunn Batman. It's a different Batman. Because fuck it, we don't need to worry about. We could do Elseworlds. Who cares?
Yeah, you can, but like I don't see why they don't just like weave
Accept
it
it.
into what they're doing at the moment. Yeah.
I think it's because he has such like James Gunn has such a idea of what he wants to do, and we've seen it. Like we've seen his
Mm.
Superman. It's big comic book. He had a giant kaiju monster, two different giant kaiju monsters in that movie, and then you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have Batman, who was fighting the Riddler, who was leading a gang of incels, basically. Like
Mm.
I guess he's like, does the power scaling has to line up? I don't know. I guess that to me is the obvious thing to do. That Batman movie was so well received. Fuck it, weave it in.
Yeah, yeah.
Weave it in. It was great.
Don't
Andy Serkis was
overcomplicate
good,
things.
Alfred. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it, but he has his idea, and I guess we can kind of weave that into the big topic that has come up this week, which is a couple weeks ago if you're listening to this. Uh, Warner Brothers is selling themselves again. We just had the Warner Brother
Yep.
Discovery merger a few years ago. It obviously has not worked out the way that they thought it would, so they're going to start selling their assets. And one of those assets is Warner
Mm-hmm.
Brothers, and Warner Brothers has a lot of IP that's very, very, very desirable. Mainly DC Comics, as well as like Mortal Kombat and stuff, the Looney Tunes and stuff. And there's tons of people that want
Yep.
that. So if they do sell, the new owners could look at what James Gunn is doing and be like, actually, we don't want that. We don't want you to make any of
Mm.
these things. We want to do our own thing. Or they could keep on doing it. It's hard to tell. It's literally up in the air. The big rumor that I saw that the most likely person who's going to acquire, Warner Brothers properties is going to be Paramount. So Paramount's
Yeah.
they're a film studio as well. Maybe they have their own people that they're going to want to lead a universe. And if so, do we get another reboot?
Well, I mean, we talked about how Superman's box office was good but not great, and that could be used as like like a talking point to say like, well, if we're not getting the returns from what James Gunn is doing, then maybe we should hit the reset button and
Give it another shot.
try something different.
Because
Maybe go with something like more mainstream in terms of like the stuff coming up. So like obviously Superman was, but
yeah,
like compared to everything else that is on the slate, like the Creature Commandos and whatnot, like go back to Batman and Wonder Woman and the Flash
yeah,
and the heroes which are more in the public
you're
consciousness
more marketable
already,
ones.
rather than trying to
Because
exactly.
that's the truth of the matter is, I did not see any real merchandising for Creature Commandos, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really see much merchandising for Peacemaker either. Like,
Mm.
and that maybe that's the property issue. So like, of course, the big thing in superhero stuff is always gonna be toys, obviously.
Yeah.
McFarlane has the exclusive rights to make the DC Comics figures. And McFarlane, they do very detailed 7-inch tall figures that are about $30 or $25 to $30 in store.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Marvel Legends is done by Mattel, and Marvel Legends they put out more product. They are smaller. I don't think the quality is as detailed or as nice as the DC ones, but ultimately, like the price points are around the same. But like for example, they made action figures for Black Panther and for Eternals, and those things were on the shelves forever. Shang-Chi, those figures were on the shelves forever. DC didn't make anything for Creature Commandos or for Peacemaker, so they didn't sit on shelves.
Mm.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Is it a bad thing they didn't put out merch, or is it a good thing? Because it's like, who would have wanted to buy Peacemaker toys? It was an R-rated show that kids can't watch, which was another talking point we
Wow,
could we
yeah,
could get
yeah.
into as well. So
Absolutely. I think that's another place where they're shooting themselves in the foot a little bit.
so that's I saw talking anything DC film is gets to be complicated because you run into the Zack Snyder problem, which is that Zack
Mm.
Snyder has a very loyal fan base who would love nothing more than to have his movies be the restored main continuity and for him to keep making them. I do not get the appeal. I didn't
Nope.
enjoy any of them. Any of them. And I'm a big DC
I
Comics
know what you
person.
mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we've
There's like some which I can sort of sit through, but not to the point where I love them or anything like that. Not even close.
yeah. Um so but what you have to say is that in that period of time there was a Wonder Woman there were two Wonder Woman movies, two Aquaman movies, a Flash movie, a Superman movie, a Batman versus Superman movie, and a Justice League movie. So those are your heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
They did not fuck around and make like, you know, fucking Kids of King Arthur's Court or Prez or any of the other offbeat C-list characters that DC has at their disposal. And they also like the theme was consistent among them. I didn't care for the tone a lot of those movies had. It felt really like
Oh
it took
God,
itself
no.
too seriously, and the colors
Yep.
scheme was really muted and dishwatery,
Mm-hmm.
but it was consistent. If you like, Superman was bright and colorful and had a level of kind of curiosity to it that I think is needed for a Superman movie. Peacemaker and Suicide Squad and Creature Commandos did not. And those are all things that
Mm.
tie together. And so somebody pointed out in one of the first few episodes of the second season of Peacemaker, John Cena's character is in a bisexual orgy. And his character showed up in a cameo in the Superman movie. So it's like, I don't know. Like, yes, you have to like trust parents to be like, well, this is R rated, the kids shouldn't watch it. But when you have the fucking character in the kids movie, you're kind of encouraging people to see him
Mm.
elsewhere too.
Absolutely.
You
And,
know,
yeah, I think something that annoys me right now is like with all these people who are still Zack Snyder fans and still kind of, want to see the cinematic universe revert to what he was doing.
yes,
Like he doesn't help things either. Like
no,
recently he's been posting a lot of like images and stuff saying this is my Superman or something,
yeah,
showing
just
Henry
stoking the fire.
Cavill or yeah, it's like, dude, just leave it. Let it
Well,
be. It
and
was
he's
what 10
friends
years
with,
ago that the
yeah,
Justice League came out, and
yeah. Well, and he's friends with James Gunn as well, and it just seems
mm,
weird that like like they are guys who are friendly with each other. They make jokes about like how their fan bases are at war with one another, and it just seems like yeah, he's stoking the flame, and it's like maybe you should try to encourage more people to watch Rebel Moon.
I mean,
I don't
yeah,
even know what the
probably
fuck
not
that
because it's
was.
awful, but
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
uh, it's garbage, absolute garbage. But this is the thing. I guess maybe because Rebel Moon has failed quite spectacularly, so he's looking to sabotage James Gunn's, DC movies. So then I guess he can sweep in and save the day, or maybe this is like his plan in his mind or something.
Maybe it feels like I guess the thing about it is, and this is a feather in the cap for both men. Everything that James Gunn has done has been James Gunn. there has been nothing has been out of character in the work that he has put out so far in his DC universe.
Mm.
And the same can go to be said for Zack Snyder. They have been so consistent with their vision and what they want, and you kind of have to give them props for it. Uh,
Yeah.
you take the good and the bad. With Zack Snyder, you get this really overwrought, pseudo emotional beat dishwater that focuses on imagery rather than like stuff that makes sense. Like Superman watched this massive explosion happen all around him that likely killed a bunch of people, and like he just looks like conflicted about it. And it's like, whereas like the David Cornsweat Superman would have caught the goddamn like truck and taken it somewhere else. Henry Cavill's just let it blow up around him. And it's like, just because you're invulnerable, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Um, but yeah, you get what you get with those guys, and I guess that's good. They're
Mm.
they're true to what they're doing. I guess my thing is like, I really enjoyed what I saw in James Gunn's Superman, and I'm
Yeah.
optimistic to see more of it. I was amused by what I saw in Peacemaker, but I didn't have much of a desire to go out of my way to watch it. Um,
Mm.
and the same can be said for Creature Commandos, because I was really excited at the onset, and then the more I saw it, the more I was like, I don't really want to watch this. It feels like it could just be on Adult Swim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it didn't
I think
feel
as
required viewing.
yeah, and that I think is the problem. Like
I and that's
I
that's an
think
excellent
too
point.
many well, I think like too many of these like shows and movies that are coming up almost too geared towards James Gunn's sensibilities rather than like a commercial sensibility, like for the biggest possible audience. And I think that is where like his vision for DC Studios might come unstuck
Yes,
because it's more aimed towards him. Like
his
it's the whole Vince McMahon kind of WWE issue where like it was an audience of one that he was
mm-hmm.
trying to please, and he was that one. I get the feeling that like it's similar with James Gunn right now.
So all right, let's look let's take the opposite view on that. When the Star Wars movies came out after Disney acquired Star Wars, it those
Hmm.
movies felt like nothing because it felt like they were trying to appeal to too many people at once. Like I wasn't really like,
Well,
what's the
yeah.
objective? Like who? What are we? It feels like with him, he needs to loosen it up in the sense that like, listen, I fucking love Michael Rooker and I love his dedication to put Michael Rooker in everything that he does. I do. But that being said, like there didn't there wasn't a big name in Superman, and I feel like there could have been,
Mm.
and there maybe should have been.
Hmm.
I love the people in it. I love Nicholas Holt. I love Frank Grillo. I love the fact that Frank Grillo is getting consistent work. Can we just put that out there? I love that fucking guy. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is
Yeah,
about
yeah,
him.
yeah.
I just love him. So I'm happy he's getting work. But like, you know, a lot of and maybe that's more of a symptom of like where we are with when it comes to entertainment these days. There doesn't feel like there's a lot of big name actors or actresses these days, right? Because most of them are getting
Mm.
older. Like I saw something that
Yes.
reminded me today that Tom Cruise is in his mid 60s, and it's like Jesus.
Yeah.
I think because
Kind
it's
of
about his
scary.
yeah, it was about his recent divorce, and he was like there's like he's afraid he'll never find love again. I'm like, he's like 65. He's probably right. He might not ever find love again. He's 65, And if he did, it's
Mm.
not for very long, you know? If
Exactly.
you're lucky, it's another 10, 15 years. If you're not, you know, you're
It's like
not.
a lot of actors that we kind of grew up watching as well,
Mm-hmm.
all starting to die off now as well.
Val
And it's
Kilmer.
like, damn,
Felt Val
yeah,
Kilmer.
it's really sad. And there's, like you say, there's not many stars who are coming up nowadays or who've been around for like the last 10, 15 years or whatever who have that same sort of star quality.
Yeah.
It's it's like a different era now. I don't know if that's because our attention spans aren't what they once were, and like we don't kind of idolize them as much as we did,
Hmm.
or what the issue is. Maybe it's like the quality of the movies, or who knows. But yeah, we don't have that star quality anymore.
Well, I think it's. I think there's definitely an element there because you brought up like Superman made 615 million, which was good but not great. And it's like,
Mm.
what's the last like? I mean, the superhero genre in general is just not doing what it used to do. Like the
I think
Avengers, the last Avengers
Deadpool and
movies.
Wolverine made over 1 billion, but that's an anomaly in the last like
Yeah,
5 years or so.
exactly. And for that one, I think like that is another one of the situations where you have like Hugh Jackman who's been playing that character for 25 years. A quarter of a
Yeah.
century has been Hugh Jackman as Wolverine at this point. That's insane to think about, but it's true. And
Hmm.
Ryan Reynolds has, he made a prophecy come true by playing Deadpool, and it worked exactly as it should have. That was a
Yeah.
throwaway gag on a panel of, what do you look like, Deadpool? I look like, Ryan Reynolds mixed with a Sharpay. And then he fucking made it happen. Like, damn. But again, those are, again, two older actors, like Ryan Reynolds has been active since the 90s. I remember him on a sitcom called Two
Yeah.
Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place on, like, ABC.
Hmm.
He's not young.
Yeah.
So who's the kid from Jeremy Allen White and Timothy Chalamet are like the two big like actors I think of, like I know them by name and not because they played a particular role. That's the
I
basis
mean,
of like are they a big name actor?
Jeremy Allen White is obviously like the star of The Bear, which
Mm-hmm.
is a great show, and
He was curiously
absolutely
cast as
deserving
Carrie
of all
Von
the
Erich.
plaudits.
Curiously,
Yeah, and he's just been cast as Bruce Springsteen as well,
yeah, I saw the trailer for that.
which yeah, he doesn't look a thing like him. But to
Boy,
be
he
fair,
didn't look a
his voice
goddamn thing
does
like
sound a
Carrie
bit like
White,
him.
Carrie Von Erich too, considering like he was a good foot shorter than him.
Mm.
That was like the funniest part of the Iron Claw movie was just like, huh, in this universe, Carrie Von Erich's the shortest one. Interesting. Ugh, boy. Anyway, um, yeah, I don't know if it's just that because it's like the way that we consume media is obviously very different. Television ratings are nowhere near where they used to be. Movie,
Hmm.
but like every time a movie comes out and you hear that it's a critical success, the next thing you hear is like it also didn't make any fucking money. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
what's the
yeah.
most recent Leonardo DiCaprio movie? All I've heard is like, what a great movie. It's really good. It made next to nothing though.
Yeah, it's the same with The Rock's last movie as well, The Smashing Machine, which, people have been praising his performance in it, saying, "Oh yeah, that he could be nominated for an Oscar this coming year." And, it's made basically no money at the box office.
I think they're projecting it might make 15 million in its run. Might make 15 million.
Yeesh, that's
That's an
terrible.
estimate. Like that's not great. So like,
Mm,
well, I'm amused by that story because like hearing The Rock talk about it, he's clearly angling for some sort of a nomination. Because that's what happens when
yeah.
actors when they're trying to get nominated for an Oscar, they all make the interview circuit, and all they do is they talk about like how challenging of a role it was. So challenging. Because I remember Anne Hathaway did that
Mm,
for her role in Les Mis, where it felt like for a year all she did was like go on Jimmy Kimmel and like Graham Norton and talk about how challenging it was for her to play this role. That's what he's doing,
yeah.
and it reminds me of a story of like Alan Rickman on the set of Galaxy Quest. And Tim Allen filmed a scene where he got emotional and he had to like take the rest of the day off. And Alan Rickman's response was, "Oh my god, I think you discovered acting." Like I think The Rock discovered acting.
Yeah.
He's just been The Rock for the last 20 years in everything he's ever done. Now he had to play a different person? What
Oh
the
God,
hell?
yeah. Well, yeah, I just watched G.I. Joe Retaliation today,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he is basically what's his name in the movie? I think it's like
Roadblock!
Roadblock or
He's
something,
Roadblock.
which is it's close enough to The Rock.
Yeah.
So,
Rhymes.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. He was playing GI Joe were hardly known for their diverse personalities. It's kind of like the Transformers back in the day, where it's like they had a name and they turned
Mm,
into a specific kind of car, and they had like one character trait. That was like
yeah.
GI Joe. It's like this is the guy who goes on all the snow missions. This is the guy that goes on all the water missions. What do they do if it's not snow or water? Actually, just hang out. Come on, I'm just hanging out today. Oh, we got to go get Cobra. Oh, they're in the desert. Well, me and my snowshoes will be staying here and minding the base. So, way to make me remember that Christopher Eccleston was in that movie as well. Poor
Who
Christopher.
was?
Christopher Eccleston. He was Destro in the first one, anyway.
Oh yeah, in the first one. Yeah, that's
Oh,
right. Yeah.
they
He
couldn't get
was
him. They couldn't get him
replaced
back
in
for
the
the
second
sequel.
one.
Couldn't get him back for the sequel, could they?
No.
Ah,
Or he didn't want to come back anyway, that's for
that's
sure.
probably the case. I don't know. I love Christopher Eccleston. I'll fucking watch him in anything.
Mm.
I I I actually that would be fun. I have thought about this like because of the whole notion up until recently with the whole thing of like Jason Momoa is going to be Lobo, but of course before sorry he's going to be Lobo and Supergirl, but before that he was
Mm-hmm.
Aquaman. It's like the first instance where like the one that I can think of where a large or an actor is going to be basically playing two different roles in the same like universe, or at least a major one. Because I mean, Michael,
Yeah.
like I said, Michael Rooker's been fucking everything that James Gunn does. He's like played three different roles in Suicide Squad and Peacemaker and Creature Commandos. So anyway,
Mm.
I would love to do an episode of like, hey, what was a role that an actor played that you would like to see that same actor in a better role in a superhero film? Because for me, Christopher Eccleston as the villain in the second Thor movie was such a waste. I love Christopher Eccleston so much, and I hated that he was in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I think pretty much the universal opinion is that was an absolute waste of time for him. Um,
He's been in a lot of
and it
wasted
didn't
times,
really.
unfortunately.
Well, yeah.
I
But
mean, he
like
got paid, so I'm sure he
Malekith
doesn't care.
in the comics is like a pretty sort of dynamic villain. He's kind of mischievous and uh you can have some fun with it.
He's
But
very serious and very dour.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, they completely took anything away from the characterization, which kind of made him stand out, or showed any sort of personality. Like, why hire an actor like Christopher Eccleston if you're not gonna do something with him?
I would agree with that. I don't know. I guess one of my favorite things is I love his attitude about Doctor Who and how it ruffles feathers. Where he's just like, I'll do it for the money, and people get all upset about it. It's like he said he'd just do it for the money. It's like, yeah, he had a
Yeah.
miserable time making the goddamn thing. I wouldn't want to go back either.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's ultimately that's where we kind of are with Warner Brothers at the moment. Is that Warner Brothers is for sale? The theory,
Mm-hmm.
the prediction that I've seen is that we're likely going to see Paramount acquire it in early 2026. So it's enough time. Oh,
Apparently,
good.
it could be like there's I think 5 different potential buyers lined up. So Paramount is the front runner.
Yeah.
But they're fresh off a merger with Skydance, who are like another sort of producing studio. So that I don't know, like if they acquire like another major company like Warner Brothers Discovery, that's asking a lot in a short amount of
Now,
time.
I don't think they're
Uh,
acquiring
the
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 whole
other
thing though. Like they're talking about
okay,
selling the asset, so they might just be selling the IP or the properties, like the Warner Brother property, but like Discovery and everything would still be its
right,
own thing.
okay.
Because that was like that's what a
Well,
lot of
in
people are
that
talking
case,
about is like separating the film division from the television division.
mm, interesting. Okay. Well, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
But so some the other companies that are sort of being touted as potential buyers, Apple, who've obviously got into like the movie making and TV
Yeah.
making business over the last few years. Amazon, who've been doing it for a
A
lot
little bit.
longer.
Yeah. A little bit.
Netflix, who've obviously, had their fingers in a lot of pies for
Like 20
like the
years.
last 20 years, basically. And NBC Universal is the other one,
Yeah.
which I'm not entirely familiar with. Like, are they
So it's
like
Universal Studios.
what sort of? Oh, okay,
Yeah. So
right.
that's the yeah. So it's NBC Television and Universal Studios. So like, of course, the big thing being with Universal is the Universal monsters, which
Mm-hmm.
starting to they're making they're making new noise again and stuff. But mainly for them, it's like NBC. You have the Peacock network and the television wing and stuff.
Right, right, right.
Of those, like I said, Paramount seems to be, like I said, the front runner. That's the one that I've seen people predict that Paramount's the one that would be the most likely to do it. I would personally think it would be interesting
Mm.
if it was like a Netflix, mainly just for the wrestling implications of what that would mean, because that would
Yeah.
just be fucking hysterical. But
Yeah.
for other reasons, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really. It's like you said, the reason we brought this up is that James Gunn, in an interview this week, basically said like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I could be fired for by the if
Mm-hmm.
somebody else buys it, they have the right to say they don't want to do this and fire me. Which again is what happened when Warner Brothers Discovery happened. There was a whole Batgirl movie that was done. Michael Keaton was Batman in it. Brandon Fraser was playing Firefly. It was a finished movie, and they said, "Nope, we're not putting it out. Tax write off." There's even if like James
Mm.
Gunn like got all the shit going, he could be finished, and the new ownership could be like, we would rather just not put this out, and then that was that. So it is
Mm.
interesting of
Yeah.
like ultimately it comes down to who's gonna buy it and what their attitude about it's gonna be. I mean, it could very well be someone who buys it and they're like, hey, we believe in what he's doing. We think he's got a good vision. Superman performed well. Maybe it just didn't have the right people behind it. Because that's also another factor. Like, Superman was considered the success that it was because DC had done miserable movies outside of the Batman, had been doing miserable movies for a decade plus at that point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, Man of Steel made more money, which is a big talking point of the Snyder fans. If you use the inflation calculator, technically, Man of Steel made more money than the Superman movie did if you used the inflation calculator. But it was a whole different era of watching stuff. Netflix at that point, when Man of Steel was out in theater, you ordered DVDs off of Netflix to have them delivered to your home to watch, and then
Yeah.
you had to put them in an envelope and mail them back. So it was a very different world. I guess it's just bizarre to think about because, like, for the last since what 2008, we have lived in this world where there was always some Marvel project or a DC project in the works, and
Mm.
in the last few years, I mean, we've done several episodes talking about this. They haven't been performing like they have been, and it could just be again, they talk about superhero fatigue. Could be the case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People could just not want to watch these movies anymore. There was a gap for.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they just not just DC, like Marvel as well. Like the market has just been so oversaturated with not just movies but TV series as well, and
Mm-hmm.
not just the sheer number of them all, but like the fact that it's all tied in as well. Like it means that you feel an obligation to try and watch everything to kind
Yeah,
of keep up with everything. But like a lot of people just can't be bothered to do that. So if
Well,
they see that there's all these TV series coming out and they're like, well, I'm not too fussed about this, and that's got a knock-on effect, which is gonna mean that, they're not too fussed from watching the movies because they've missed out what set it up in the first place.
can I tell you, I've been in the last few weeks I've been going back and watching older movies. And
Hmm.
what I honestly think would be interesting to see is um the way we tell stories has changed in a big way. It's not the same anymore. Case in point,
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Death Becomes Her. 1992, I believe, is the year it came out. That movie
Hmm.
introduces the characters and the plot 7 minutes in. The movie's an hour 44. It does not want to fuck
Mm-hmm.
around. Like
Yeah.
there's the reveal, so the reveal that when Goldie Hawn gets killed and she stands back up after having a hole blown through her midsection, and Meryl
Mm-hmm.
Streep makes the connection like, oh, you also took the weird potion that made your body stop aging and basically made you immortal. Like they did that by showing like the same matching little pin on her shirt, and that's all you needed to
Yeah.
see. We didn't need to see a flashback of Goldie Hawn's character going and seeing Isabella Rossellini. We we just made the connection and fucking moved on. And I feel like they don't like movies don't do that shit anymore. Like everything has to be two,
Yeah.
3 hours long, and it's like that's a tight 144 is what that movie was, and I was thoroughly entertained. And I had the same experience the week before when I watched The Witches of Eastwick, which had four fucking main characters and was an hour and
Mm-hmm.
30 some minutes. You
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I feel like we just like for some reason filmmakers have decided that we can't trust the audience to follow like the show not see, show not tell rule. Like and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and like by show and not tell, I don't mean like you have to show the character like like how did they get here? Like, well, we have to show her getting up out of bed and then brushing her teeth and putting her clothes on and having breakfast and then walking out the front door and then getting in her car. Like, you can trust people to make the assumption that she's here because she needs
Mm-hmm.
to be here for whatever reason, you know?
Yeah.
And I wonder if like if you were to take that approach, because like Superman was over 2 hours long, and you reduce Superman to an hour 44, and you tell the same story that you told in Peacemaker in season 2, and you make it an hour and a half long movie. Can you get to the same
Mm.
point with half the money and keep people engaged because you're not asking them to dedicate a bunch of time to this? Because I wonder if that's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
the trick. Because you brought up like the old attention span thing. Is the trick going to be like, all right, cool. People watch like TikToks and reels and like, like um professional wrestling for the most part now, like viewership numbers are down because of how they changed how the ratings are reviewed. But if you go on YouTube, you can see like the highlight clips with millions of views in comparison to the hundreds of thousands who watched it live. Like, is that going to be the trick? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we just have to tell stuff in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I know from my personal point of view, like I always like well, not try to avoid, but like I'm less inclined to watch a movie that's longer than say an hour 45 than I would if it was, less time than that. Like if we are talking a movie that's like 2 hours or more, it's like, geez, do I really want to commit that amount of
Yeah,
time to watching this?
it has to be
It's
special.
hard work.
It has to be special. Like the last
Mm.
like really long movie that I enjoyed was the Denis Villeneuve Dune movies. Saw those in theaters.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally fine with the length. Felt it was fine. I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
liked Nosferatu that was out last winter, and I kind of felt like there were some
Yeah,
scenes
yeah.
they could have condensed on that.
Mm-hmm.
You could, yeah. I mean, some characters could have gotten cut fucking entirely, and I don't think it would have hurt anything. Like what's I guess my thing is like it sounds terrible to say because I feel like you're criticizing the art of like, oh, the art's too long and you're not keeping people engaged, but it's like keeping people engaged should also be part of the objective because I'm sorry that
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to say this, but like you know we don't need to see a 3 hour long Batman movie. Like the Zack Snyder, the extended Zack Snyder Justice League movie was like what 4.5 hours long.
Yeah,
Why?
ridiculous.
Why? It didn't need to be that long. It's a superhero movie for God's sake, you know. Like I get okay.
Mm,
I'll say this because it feels weird to do. I think that people I will love and support art and independent art and weird art because I think creativity is important and that is it adds a spice to life. Is making things
yeah,
and creating things. I'm not going to tell people that your art is bad, but I also will tell you that what you consider art shouldn't probably be considered art. Case in point, I don't like it when people start calling professional wrestling an art form. I don't think that's true. I think that's kind of weird and it makes you sound really pretentious to be like, this is my art.
yeah,
It's like, I mean, you're kind of doing a weird short play, so I guess you could say it was an art form, but at the end of the day, the people you're trying to entertain are like everyday folks who are just trying to, like keep entertained for like 7 minutes at a time. You don't have to be so grandiose
exactly.
about it. And
Mm,
so I don't think that people got their nose out of joint when like Martin Scorsese said that like Marvel films are like amusement parks and roller coasters. Like they got really like bummed out about that and were like being really hateful towards him for saying, how dare you say that about that, as if it's a bad thing. Like people like amusement parks, people like
yeah,
popcorn
yeah,
flicks. Like I don't think like James Cameron's gonna like hold Terminator 2 up against like Citizen Kane.
exactly.
Like at some point
I
you
don't know.
just
He is quite arrogant, so
that's true. That's very true. That's a bad example. I guess like I guess that's kind of the thing. Like I feel like some people there's a disconnect between the people who consider everything they do in a very over dramatic, over the top, this is my art form, and like the people who
mm,
want to watch like a 15-second long TikTok clip, and that's why the space in between is shrinking because those two sides are getting bigger.
yeah, yeah. I think we just need to make things that are more accessible for like the biggest audience possible.
Yeah.
And which sounds like such an obvious thing to say, but like it doesn't feel like a lot of people are doing that in all sorts of,
Hmm.
like forms of entertainment right now. So maybe that's something we should be aiming to get back to and work on, but
Yeah.
that's for
No.
the people in charge to kind of,
Exactly.
make those decisions and bring us back to that point.
There is I understand like the power of, and this will be the last like anecdote that I tell. I understand the power of
Mm,
nostalgia goggles. So I'm talking about like how I watched The Witches of Eastwick and Death Becomes Her in the last few weeks, and I was amazed at how much more enjoyable it was to watch a movie that had a tight 1 hour 45-minute long time frame where we didn't waste time. Like the
yeah.
the the screenplay and the directing trusted me as the viewer to follow the story they were going to tell without having to explain it to death. You know, like
Hmm.
in the Witches of Eastwick, there is no scene where they go, "Oh my God, we have magic powers." They have a realization while they're playing tennis, and it's them kind of giggling as they realize they're making the ball do weird shit. But there's no over the top like
Mm,
let's state it plainly for everyone to know. Hey, we're in Eastwick and we appear to be witches. We might be the witches of Eastwick. I don't know. Um, but like I understand that. Like that's really important and really and like that to me is what's lost is that trust of the filmmaker who is making a movie for the purpose of entertainment and me as the audience member who wants to be entertained. That's what I need. That's what I think
mm,
we've lost
yeah.
emphasis on. We don't need to make an art statement and I don't need to think of myself as some cultured person because I want to watch Jack Nicholson talk about how he wants to fuck Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon. Because guess what, man? We fucking all do. That's just a fact of life. You know?
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, who is like a demon, maybe, is the most relatable person in the whole movie. You're like, yeah, I too would like to do those things, I guess. but my point is, I know it's not just nostalgia because I was thinking about like Halloween and things that as a kid I remember, and I remembered like there was this movie that I saw as a kid that was about aliens who came to Earth on Halloween, and like the whole movie was like how some of them wanted to take over the Earth and the others just wanted to leave. And I go like I remembered like
Mm.
thinking the alien design was really good, and I went and I looked it up and I was like, okay, the movie's called Spaced Invaders. And then I watched the trailer and I went, oh my God. I had one of those moments where like as I was a stupid child. Like, why was I entertained by this? This looks horrific. So I know it's not just me going, everything from the past is great. Because like I know there's quality. And I know myself well enough to know that I can judge quality. Because I didn't think that Spaced Invaders was going to be like this amazing tour de force. But anyway, there's my film recommendation for you, John. If you've not seen Spaced Invaders, try to find it. It's
I've
a
not seen it.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a Disney live action movie uh that had pretty
Okay.
okay looking alien designs, but they did that weird thing where in the 90s there's always a character that looked and sounded like Jack Nicholson. So there was an alien that sounded like Jack Nicholson. I don't know why, but it was.
Beautiful. I will definitely look that up.
Well, speaking of movies, John, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up if you're okay. If there's a lasting point you want to make, by all means, feel free to.
No, no, I'm good.
Okay. So, John, we know that you're getting dangerously close to 1,000 movies, and canonically, it's November. Realistically, it's October. Where are you at the moment?
Hmm. So I am now up to 950 movies for the year
Whoa.
so far.
Yeah, you're definitely
Yeah.
hitting that 1,000 before the end of the year. So, what
I,
is
I've just had the week off work, so
you got
that's definitely helped
made a big chunk?
boost it up a little bit.
So, what is the last movie that you watched?
The last movie I watched was Double Impact, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where he plays twins who are
Yes.
separated at birth, basically, and come back together to find the criminals who killed their parents and get some revenge.
I felt like there was a lot of movies that involved like twins being like reunited, especially in that period of time. Obviously, the best
Mm,
being Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
of course, yeah.
What
They
a
always
pairing!
threaten to make a sequel to that called Triplets, with Eddie Murphy being the third brother.
I would have watched that. That would have been fun. Um, so, John, where can they go to read your thoughts on Double Impact?
They can head to Letterboxd and find me at Big John Bowski, all one word.
And even though Dylan was not here in person, he is here in spirit. If you want to listen to the radio show that Dylan does every Monday at, I believe it is 10 p.m. his time in the United Kingdom. So I just figured out that time adjustment for you. That is bounce.digital radio. The link for that is in the description below. Dylan loves grunge music and plays a lot of that. But I also know Dylan has a variety of musical taste, and I know that some of it is very surprising. We used to do a show. I used to do a show where it was all about, I've never heard this album before. We'll listen to it and then talk about it. And I remember we did a
Mm.
Japanese pop star named Sheena Ringo, and it was a choice between that and Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses. So I'm
Right.
I'm thankful that I got the Japanese pop star and not Chinese Democracy. Dylan also occasionally likes to go on Twitch and stream himself drawing. Sometimes he draws the thumbnails to this show. You can also find the link to that, but that is at I believe was it Captain or is it Captain Explody or
I think it is,
it could
but
be.
don't quote me on that.
The link's in the description. Additionally, I have some other projects. I have Large Old Cup, which is a podcast that's just me talking about stuff for about half an hour, and I also have a writing project called Henry's Usual, which is a basically a letter from one um, disenchanted former Gen Xer to potentially another former Gen Xer, or maybe himself. It's hard to tell. I don't really know what I'm doing with it. It's just happening. Anyway, links to all of that is in the description. We're also on social media. We occasionally put clips out there. You can find it all at Smark Avengers. But until next time, I suppose this is farewell. Goodbye.
Bye bye.